Okay, today is May 14th, 2014. This is Rye Guy Takes the Shane Train. I'm Ryan Cerny.
And I'm Shane Collins.
Today is our 5th episode, and we have a very, very special guest. An old friend of ours, Shane. What do you want to say about this guest?
I wish you weren't here. I'll say that. No, this will be good. Dan has been our friend for how many years now?
Since 2007.
Quite a while. From college.
So it's 7 years we've known this man. And we met him in film school. And Dan McCallum, why don't you say hi?
Hello, Shane and Ryan, and podcast listeners.
Fantastic. Now, Dan, you have a little gift for us, don't you?
I do. This came about through a conversation Ryan and I had recently, and I had some alternate ideas for the podcast here.
Yeah.
Specifically alternate titles. So I'll just throw out a couple, and you guys let me know what you think.
Okay, great.
My first one is the CNC Podcast Factory.
Okay.
Sounds like we should have it's like a comedy club.
Okay, sure.
All right.
I was gonna go more with almost like the Quad City DJs,
Sure,
we're,
okay,
like some
yeah.
really shitty rap band or something.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
The next one, which admittedly is related to today's topic, so it's kind of sucking up a little bit.
Okay.
But it's the Suck Zone with Shane and Ryan.
Oh.
Another one is an inside joke that almost no one listening will get, but it's just filibuster.
Delightful.
The last couple ones are even worse jokes. One is imagining people are listening to this years from now.
Sure.
And it's the Ryan and Shane Podcast Collector's Set Volume 1, the early years.
Ooh, for posterity, I like that.
Yeah, I'm imagining a nice box set.
Okay, sure.
Since we're all film people here, Circles of Confusion.
Ooh, I like that one.
I actually thought
I've wanted to use that one
I
for
thought,
other stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was legitimately kind of
That's
cool.
But also, it kind of sounds like a Christian rock band.
It does. The Christian Rock Podcast.
The last one, well, second to last, because I've noticed listening that you and Shane agree on quite a few things.
Oh, oh shit.
So, same side of the coin.
Yeah. I like that. Can that be like our tagline?
Maybe, have you guys considered making t-shirts?
We bantered about that.
We have, because we do have a couple super fans that have some t-shirts coming their way at some point in time. We'll see.
All right. And the last one, which admittedly, looking at my list now, no idea how I came up with this. A little off the top.
I immediately took that sexually.
That's fair. I think actually that the original idea was that you asked Shane to shave in a lot of the movies you guys used to make.
Sure.
And somehow shaving translated to haircuts. And
sure.
a little off the top.
You got that.
Plus, it's like, you guys just riff a lot on the show. So it's
A little off the top
a little off the top.
of our heads.
Sure.
I like that. That's actually, you're like the only legit one. The rest are...
Circles of Confusion.
That was a good, yeah.
Pretty legit.
Okay, that's true. All right, so, great ideas. We're not going to use a single one.
Good. They're all copyrighted.
That was just a mental exercise for you. You're getting a little bit slow, Dan. We're worried.
But we only have one topic today, and it's a good one. It's a juicy one. Really, this is 50-50, and I talked with Shane about this. Either our 3 listeners who listen to this podcast, either you're going to be on board this Shane train, or you're going to want it to crash. Because we're only talking about one thing, and... Well, it's all about Twister.
It's a doozy, though.
Yeah, it's a
That's
doozy.
a good one.
If you want to be technical, we're talking about 3 things.
Well, I actually technically 4, because we're also talking about the original.
Isn't that the first one?
See, I always thought it was a new trilogy after this one.
All right, that's fair. I guess I don't remember.
Well,
I'm going to have very little to contribute.
We'll rediscover all this along the way.
so the Bill Paxton action weather extravaganza came out in 1996. Actually, just like a week or so ago, it was the 18th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of why we brought this up and we've been talking about Twister a lot. A couple of years ago in film school, Shane, Dan, and myself spent a solid probably like 5-6 hours.
Hours, yeah.
We spent hours after watching Twister one night, and we plotted out a full trilogy of sequels to the original film. And so tonight we're going to try and remember what we came up with, but also just riff and make new stuff
Add
up.
to it, yeah.
Add
Flesh
to
that
it.
out.
Because I mean, really, we're kind of awesome at making giant multi-million-dollar 4-quadrant films.
We've done it before.
So let's get into it. I honestly don't remember too much, but I'll kick us off with some memories here. I know what we had is the weather team had become more like daredevils, and they drove around and not because we're like in the movie they have like 17 cars.
Right.
It's a caravan, but in our version they upgraded to almost like Dead Reckoning and Land of the Dead. We're like a giant armored bus. it had a laboratory in it. And that's how they got around. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I do remember that, and it's not completely out of the blue, because part of the idea is that they're being actively hunted at this point.
Yeah. Well, because they were in the original. Like they were being dogged by those tornadoes, especially the one at the movie
the
theater.
F5.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just tornadoes this time that's hunting them. Because remember, there's a certain bad guy from the first film who survived.
Yeah.
And Cary Elwes from the first film, the bad guy, Jonah, right? His name is Jonah.
Yeah.
In our film, he survives, and he's basically the main antagonist for this next new trilogy of movies. And the thing is, he's trying to... his goal is he's trying to harness the power of tornadoes.
Yep.
And so he needs to, like, what happened was when he died, or when, supposedly died, then that Twister, it was like 10 shards or whatever of like the Twister, which don't make sense. But they broke apart, remember? And they scattered across the world. Because our opening scene of the first one is like in like Costa Rica. It's Cary Elwes all mysterious, like in a fedora and sunglasses, and he finds the first piece. And like with that one piece, he's able to command like smaller tornadoes or even just like storms. And like that was how our film started, is knowing like what his goal is he's trying to he wants to control the weather, but specifically tornadoes, so he can take down Bill Paxton and his crew.
You look like you're deep in thought, Dan.
I do, because I remember where this ends up for his character anyway. I'd sort of forgotten the quest element of trying to collect all the pieces of the original storm. Because is it okay if I jump ahead a little?
You can jump ahead, because this is kind of freeform.
Because I remember ultimately, as far as becoming a villain, his character ends up essentially inside of the tornado, controlling it like a mastermind. Like he's riding inside of the tornado
with it almost.
Like he becomes a part of it and has absolutely. He's like I guess kind of like when Jafar becomes a genie.
Yes, sure.
He has control over all of those powers now.
Because what the thing was, so it's almost like I always pictured because if I'm not mistaken, when he does collect all the shards and he creates this super tornado, remember, like wasn't it like it was like an F6? It was a tornado so large it didn't exist before. Because what happened is the big twist in our film is that eventually Bill Paxton teams up with the F5 from the end of the first movie,
trying to stop it.
So because they end up finding a common enemy, and like they end up actually joining forces, and it becomes like Bill Paxton becomes kind of like I've never seen it, but I feel like it's like the Last Airbender. Like he's able to like those two and they become like or you know what it's almost like How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a better comparison.
Like tornadoes are just misunderstood.
Yeah, like
the whole time.
Now it's like, those two, where they learn to work together and like they
Yeah.
can do all these cool tricks and stuff.
And that's the major part of the second film in the trilogy.
Yes.
Is him teaming up with the F5.
Yes, that's true, because the first new movie ended with those two being like teaming up. Like that was the big like credit stinger. Was like you're gonna need some help. But like obviously it doesn't say that because it's a tornado. Another thing, and this is more of like a world building aspect. I don't know if you guys remember, but part of their giant armored bus that they drove around. Remember how they'd go to a spot then where like there was gonna be tornadoes, and they'd have these pistons that like shot into the ground.
Yeah.
And then there was a hatch in the ceiling that opened up, and they were tethered, and like they'd go
That's right.
they'd go riding.
Yeah.
They'd ride the tornado, tethered to their armored bus. Like, that's how they collect their data. It's like
It's all very scientific.
like because that was like a fun effects driven sequence, like that'd be really cool in 3D.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, obviously, Philip Seymour Hoffman has passed since we came up with this. But the idea was that his character was like almost addicted to riding these tornadoes, and like always he was always going up. I don't know if we had a phrase for it, but I like
that sounds
going
right.
up.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Now we never really talked. Did we ever really talk about what happened with Helen Hunt's character?
I feel like we must have, but I don't remember what.
I almost
Yeah.
feel like at some point, didn't she die? Like, didn't we have her get killed in revenge?
I feel like that's the moment that's the big Cary Elwes reveal that he's controlling, that he has enough of the shards to be a real threat, because he kills her.
Yeah, okay. Like,
It was something like that. Like she becomes a motivating factor for everyone else to try and stop him.
and like, 'cause it could be a situation where like they think, because like they know Cary Elwes is there. They think, oh my god, how are you back, Jonah? But they don't connect him with the Twister. And so she's thinking of this Twister as, a force of nature. She doesn't realize Carrie's controlling it. So it does, like, it moves in a way where it should never have done that she wasn't expecting, and that's how she gets killed. Because he's like, you don't realize, like, this Twister is a part of me. It's an extension of me. And like then like it does something completely that science can't explain, and that's like what kills her. Like maybe like I feel like he has all these like rebar, or like all these spikes like twirling through the air and shit.
He just like shoots him at her.
Yeah, and shoots and she gets like impaled by one. And then like Paxton, of course, flips his shit, and that's where the revenge angle comes in.
Because that's like the call to action. I think that's about along the lines of where we had it before.
Yeah. And because in the first film, the big climactic fist fight, because even though they both control Twisters, because by the no, I'm sorry, is it the end of the second one? I'll keep going because I think it's the second one. Because they both can control Twisters, but so they're these two massive, one's 5 miles wide, the other 6 miles wide, tearing through the country. And they're each, these little, comparatively, these little humans, floating around the perimeter of their tornadoes. And, like, they're, like, fist punching each other. And, like, they're throwing, semis at each other. Because we had one where Cary Elwes, shoots a semi at Bill Paxton. And, like, Paxton's, like, running along the semi as it's turning. And then, because as he's running along it, he slides. And he slides through the window of the cab, and then he starts driving it. He drives the semi through the other Twister and like runs over Cary Elwes. But no, it's them on the ground, and they're fist fighting through the eye of the big tornado, right? And they have to keep moving because the tornado's moving, so they have to keep moving or they'll get sucked up. Mm-hmm. But I still feel like that was the first one. We're like, maybe because that'd be more dangerous for Bill. Where he has to stay within the eye as they're like fist fighting, but
because Cary Elwes has become part of the tornado.
That would be pre-Paxton having his team up.
Yeah, the team up situation.
That'd be a stressful scene to watch. Him having to keep an eye on where he's at. So, Cary just like confidently like walking towards him.
like they'd be fighting, in houses, like maybe like they're in some suburban neighborhood, and so and then like he throws it through a window, and then the tornado comes through, and the foundations are shaking, and Bill Paxton's got to figure out a way to keep moving. So like even if it hurts him, like he's got to break a window and like jump out to keep moving, or he'll get sucked in.
That's awesome.
And then I forget another thing was where we wanted to bring the horses back.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the horse.
And what happened was Paxton's riding the horse. He's galloping full speed towards the bad twister. And Cary Elwes was like a horse. What do you what will that do to me? I'm a god. And so then like Paxton Tokyo drifts on the horse in the air. And he he jumps off and kicks off the horse, and the horse is like it's like spinning, and then we see in slow motion as it spins. There's like an oil drum,
like dynamite or something.
Dynamite strapped to the horse's belly, and he takes a gun.
Paxton's just like firing midair at this confused floating horse. As its legs are just kicking wildly.
And so the horse explodes in Cary Elwes' face. So that was the general idea was for the first film, Cary Elwes is trying to collect the shards. Eventually he does. He gains the control of the twisters, and it ends then with fist fight after Helen Hunt's been killed, and then our like kind of post-credit teaser is the F5 from the first film is like I could even see it being kind of like a cool How to Train Your Dragon scene where they like Paxton's like all shy and scared, like he's looking away but he's reaching out, and then the twister like slowly like moves closer so he can like put his hand through all the swirling mist and shit. So second film starts. Paxton can now control the F5, but he can't control other weather, right? It's
I think it's just that,
right? Because he made that personal connection with that F5.
This movie's awesome. So no, we haven't really talked about the team, because really it becomes such a Paxton one-man show, as it should be.
Yeah, because it's almost like he's like going off on his own like crusade.
Yeah,
he leaves his team.
It could even be that gives me a good idea. So the team's Paxton, look, we know, we lost a team leader, and she was your wife and all this stuff, but you can't go down this path. It's a dark path. And then Paxton can be like, remember that evil Bill? He's back. Because it's there was an evil Bill.
Oh, I killed him.
So somehow there's gonna be a tie into that, where that's one of his lines to them that he throws in their face. The extreme.
The extreme. The extreme's bad.
Yeah. That's our tagline for the second movie in the trilogy.
There you go.
The extreme is back, and because that could be that's our Empire Strikes Back. This film, it's the darker version. Paxton goes down a darker path. Maybe he does some things the other Paxton would have shaken his head at. I'm trying to think what dark things would this guy do with his twister? Maybe he he goes after he doesn't care about collateral damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if he's just gotten control of a twister, he has to learn how to control it, and there's gonna be some kind of damage in the process of doing that. I mean, you don't just ride a twister without hurting anyone in the process. That's just,
as we all know,
that's just logical.
So wait, down a darker path for him. I see him then almost showboating a little bit. So he's sort of on his quest for revenge is there's a way to make money off of this, because he was always they've got corporate sponsors, bleh, in the first one. So I figured that he'd be trying to showboat a little bit and get some,
would it be would the sequel kind of jump ahead maybe a year or two, and we see him in some nasty some nasty border town, and he's making beer money doing twister tricks. obviously, yes, it's an F5, but he has the power to condense it, make it small. He can turn it into 7 different little tornadoes. He can do all sorts of stuff.
Tornado juggling.
Yeah, he's juggling tornadoes. Or you've got 7 tornadoes, spaced out, and he's jumping
between
through them, to get close enough where he gets caught in the wind of the other one, and that catapults him to the other one, and he's going.
It just sounds like fun.
So we can jump ahead a couple years, and we've got
he's like the lost.
He's lost without Joe.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. Then we can bring back Aunt Meg.
Mm-hmm.
She can be what gets him on the path to becoming a hero again. Which is, it's so odd that our post-credit teaser of the first film is this big awesome team up, but then we skip that and we go how he squandered it.
He's falling on hitting the bottle and
So what is Cary Elwes up to then? So he controls all weather.
Yeah, what is his end game?
Exactly, obviously, because in the first film, the original film, he was all about the money.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think how he can make that work to his advantage. If he's controlling.
Well, all right. Well, let me take you down a slightly different path here.
That's fine. If you've got other ideas, go there.
Let's backtrack a second. Instead of Paxton being on the border town and doing cheap tricks, maybe he's separated from the rest of his team because he learned how to control this tornado, but that flies in the face of all normal things that they've learned and what they do as a team, and they end up drifting apart. They don't believe
him out or
him.
Something?
Yeah, they don't believe him, so they kind of go their own way, and they're the real scientists. And he's on his own, and he still refuses to cash in and commercialize on it, whereas Cary Elwes is doing the exact opposite. No one knows he's the mastermind behind the weather, but if you control all the weather, you'd be the perfect weatherman. He's able to 100% of the time accurately predict the weather. So
that's his goal?
He can make a salary of $50,000 a year.
And that's not his only goal, I guess, but he's just he's completely put to shame anyone else who ever challenged him in his own field.
So he's the only one. It's like Highlander. He's the only one left in the Weatherman.
He's the only one people trust.
That's his tagline. That's his Weatherman tagline. I'm thinking it could even be where Paxton is afraid of the power he has now. So maybe he purposely pushed himself. He distanced himself from his team because he was afraid that he would hurt them. Because he knows that the raw power he controls.
Or he did end up hurting someone at some point.
Okay.
And that's why he's pulled back, because he wants to be able to control this.
Aunt Meg's dog.
Or to say, since Philip Seymour Hoffman's no longer with us, it could be oh, you accidentally killed Dusty with your tornado. Get out of here.
But no, because we want Dusty. I mean, we'll have to recast him, I feel. Oh, no, fuck that. No. It'll be, we'll go the cheesy route and have, oh, guys, look, it's Dusty's brother.
Wait, who would play Dusty's brother?
It'd be Musty.
I was just going to say.
It'd be Musty, and it'd be played by, oh gosh, who would be a comparable to Philip Seymour Hoffman?
This just turned into a whole other conversation. I don't know.
No, done. Patton Oswalt. Moving on.
Okay, sure. Yep. Okay, good.
So Patton Oswalt plays Musty, which is Dusty's brother. Problem solved.
I just got way more interested in this movie.
So yeah, maybe the sequel, and obviously no one wants to see the dog get killed, but it's heavily we allude to. Yeah. Paxton accidentally killed Meg's dog.
Well, because it's more impactful because he saved him from the house earlier. Just cut to slow-mo shots of him pulling it back out of the house.
It could even be it wasn't intentional. Obviously, it's before he knew how to control this power.
Sucked up the dog and launched it.
I'm imagining in Zombieland, with the flashbacks there from giving the dog a bath and that kind of thing, which then kind of suggests the dog was a child in the first movie, but we'll gloss over that part.
Okay, so eventually, Aunt Meg, if we're going with the border town aspect, obviously then Aunt Meg tracks Paxton down. It's like I never thought I'd see someone sing so low. Or if Joe had seen you here, she'd tan your heart. She sounds like the wife of like the police commissioner, like talking to the like to a Mel Gibson type character.
Okay, sure.
After like his partner died, the wife's like, he would kick your ass if he saw you crying and moping. So that's exactly what she does. So she then is the one who gets him back on his feet. And like, look, we need to stop Cary Elwes because he's making like $50,000 a year, being the only weatherman.
How dare he?
All the other weathermen are out of business. Oh my God, are we bringing back his ex-fiancée? She has to come back.
Oh, she has to. I thought we had worked her in there somehow.
I could almost see her being the opening kill of the. We're killing
a lot of people.
We gotta up the stakes anyway.
Oh, no. Actually, I like that. No, instead of that, it's almost like a reconnection for them. Like so she can be kind of the lead of the second one. It's those two kind of rekindling the relationship they had, and like maybe by the end of the film they do end up together. I could see that being kind of interesting.
Yeah, kind of gives it like a full circle of closure.
Because because Paxton is so unwilling to let go of his memories of Joe, and eventually he has to, or he's gonna go down a dark path. He's gonna finish that dark path. So I like that. Let's bring her in.
I think that works. That works.
So now it seems like Cary doesn't give a shit that Paxton's still alive.
Yeah, because like I feel like he somehow like would like shame him and like. Because like his goal is not to murder him, because they still have like a
it's like
tete-a-tete like relationship.
It's almost like I was going to kill you, but then I saw you were doing a fine job of that yourself.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Well, he just wanted to be the best anyway. So the fact that Paxton isn't even around doing anything, he probably doesn't even give a shit at that point.
Okay, sure.
So, but then. I'm trying to think of how we had this, because I'm remembering in my mind that we had, like, at the end game, wasn't it, like, Bill Paxton, like... Or not Paxton, I'm sorry. Jonah, like, in the giant tornado, but it was, like, over water. Didn't we have something where it was, like, over water, and there was another big, like, climactic fight?
All I remember, if I'm not mistaken, it was the very, very final fight at the end of the third film. It was Paxton leading an army of tornadoes. it was like a call to arms. It was like all the Ents coming together. We're like, Paxton's like, I'm not alone. Because I feel like at the end of the second one, or at the second act of the third film, depending on when we want it to be darkest for Paxton, I feel like his F5 either dies or somehow is weakened to the point of being useless, like incapacitated. And so either in that case, either the Twister then miraculously comes back, or then he has an army of tornadoes that like make up for it. He's like, I brought some friends, and then they all show up.
I mean, for the summer blockbuster, this clearly is. It'd be a really bold and interesting choice to have it die at the end of the second one. Like you said, make it The Empire Strikes Back. Where it's like, oh, we're at the end of the movie and the good guys lost.
So somehow the lifeless body of this tornado.
Because it's like, maybe like, if we wanted the audience to connect to it, we'd have to have one piece of debris in the tornado that is always around, and like almost kind of we symbolize that is what the tornado's heart is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that you can just see it sort of like flutter and then like land.
Yeah, like kind of like, I mean, like, even though I say it's bad, our ideas are just as shitty. But it's like how Bumblebee talks in Transformers by using the radios, the radio stations, like that kind of thing. Like our Twister, the way it communicates. Like it's using the debris.
Yeah, there's like different pieces of billboard that say stuff. It just is Bumblebee. You have to read it instead of listening.
So how does Cary Elwes kill it?
Okay, so I feel like since his tornado is bigger, he can make the bigger tornadoes. I picture like he takes like his bigger tornado like envelopes the smaller one and forces it to spin the other direction. So it
spins itself out.
Yeah, so it like sucks. Yeah, it starts because he can control it, make it go the other way, and Paxton can't.
Yeah.
So it just like then
everyone knows science. Where if a tornado starts spinning the other way, that's how tornadoes stop.
It dissipates.
You just make it turn the opposite direction, clockwise, counterclockwise.
Exactly.
Or if we want to set up an even bigger battle for the end of the third one, he actually has other tornadoes on his side. So he has his own army as well. And then that's when Paxton's like, oh, one F5 was never going to be enough. I need an army to stop him.
Okay, hold on. I like this. So I think in the third film, the third film, because by the end of the second one, Cary Elwes has accepted Paxton as a threat. He's back. Mm-hmm. He's becoming the hero we always knew he was going to be, and now he's a threat. So throughout the third film, Cary Elwes is gathering up his tornado mercenaries, like his highly trained squad of tornado killer, like tornadoes.
The Expendables of tornadoes.
Yeah. So like I was like, maybe our first scene is establishing shot of the desert, Saudi Arabia or whatever. It's like and this our big wide shot, and you see this man in a shroud. He's like stumbling through the sand, and there's wind whipping around. And he's got the big goggles on, and he pulls his shawl over, you see it's Cary Elwes. And then all of a sudden he his hands come out and shaking, and the theater's rumbling. And then this sand tornado comes out of the sand, and it's circling him in, all threatening. It gets in his face, and Cary Elwes is like, I have a proposition for you. And that's how he's going to all these different parts of the world. So it's kind of like a retreat of him going around the world globe hopping for the shards. Now he's globe trotting for all these
strongest tornadoes.
The strongest tornadoes. He's in Ireland. In some old castle.
Well, then you could have a water spout and a dust devil.
Yeah.
One of those actual different
horrifying fire tornadoes that happen sometimes.
He starts a forest fire, in Colorado or something. And he almost like a symphony, he's able to create this fire tornado. That's
sweet.
Awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Why would you want to stop him?
Yeah, he does beautiful work.
This is cool.
So he has all these different, varied, dangerous tornadoes. Where Paxton Army is it's the classic, what everyone thinks of when they think of just a tornado. Just a very basic.
What everyone thinks of as a tornado army. Very basic,
Just your standard.
We've seen it a million times.
There's nothing fancy here.
Just a basic tornado army. No frills. Now, do we know that he's gathered this army? Or is a bullshit... Well, because it could be like Iron Man 3, where we kind of understand that he has access.
He's doing something.
He's doing something. He's working towards some goal. And at the end, he's like, I brought some friends. And there's 50, tornadoes behind him.
I feel like it would be one of those things where he'd be alone, right? Walking towards Elwes, with his posse of...
His tornado armada.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, they just run, picture Aragorn and company jumping off the boat and the ghost appearing behind him.
Oh, okay.
As he's because he's he'll be walking and then he'll just start sprinting by himself towards Cary Elwes, and then they would just either drop out or just start up behind him.
What I think would be really cool is so he's doing that. He's he's running towards him, and Cary Elwes is what does this fool think he's doing? And then
your Cary Elwes impression, by the way.
And then Cary Elwes also he's running and he has a running jump in the air, and Cary Elwes is still confused, and the tornado just skyrockets Paxton into the sky, and Paxton he gets his fist up and just comes with a slamming haymaker.
I feel another one would then blow him back down.
Yeah, there's one that blows him up, rockets him up, and then another tornado comes from the clouds,
and
whips him back down into Cary Elwes. And then it's a combination of their fist fight from the first sequel and their tornado battle. I would say
tornadoes would be fighting each other.
So we have tornadoes then fighting each other, and they're getting into all sorts of mischief. While and the thing is they're they're using these tornadoes at their leisure. You know, like at any point.
The tornadoes are back there fighting, but then they can pull them in for their own means.
Kind of like it would be on a small scale. Think of like a cowboy saloon fight, where like if someone's strangling someone and they reach for like a bottle and they break it over someone's head, just on a much grander tornado scale.
Then all the other bottles are fighting each other in the background.
Like I'm trying to think like what Elwes would do to take out the fire tornado. Like how would he strip it of its power?
No, the fire tornado.
I mean, I'm Paxton.
Yeah,
Paxton. I'm sorry.
I feel like he'd have to have like a water. He'd have to like make one of them a water tornado.
He has to force it over water.
Yeah.
He tricks it.
Yeah. There we go. Solved it.
Now here's a question. Would we have an all-star cast voicing these tornadoes? Wait. I'm not saying like they talk like, hey buddy, I'm a tornado. I'm saying like they provide like vocal enhancement. So I'd be like,
to the wind noise.
So like, yeah. And then, you pitch that down and you make it all spooky and shit. Like, would we still have like all-stars doing that? Or would we just still use weather sounds? I'll bore. See, I want you to say stars.
Yeah. Like a few stars and then like a few unknowns because we want to give them their shots too, at voicing tornadoes.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, imagine Christopher Lee doing tornado sounds.
Exactly.
That'd be horrifying.
Okay, no, Christopher
He'd
Lee.
be the fire tornado.
No. Christopher Lee would be the good F5.
Oh sure. Mm-hmm.
We come to learn like he's much older than we believe him to be. He's
the first tornado.
Yes. And like maybe he harbors regret for killing Joe's family, her father, because that's the same tornado. They established that in the first semester. That's the exact same F5. So that F5 is like the one that killed Joe's father. And it's like obviously in the second film,
that's deep. That's like character building.
For that second film, we could have there's some tension between Paxton and his F5. Where it's like look, you ruined my wife's life for 20 years or whatever before she was able to get over it. So those two, throughout the film there's uneasy tension until the end where they become true partners. And unfortunately that's also when the F5 dies, that's just drama. That's drama. That's
the final we're working together and then
obviously the tornado would have to die saving Paxton.
Oh yeah,
absolutely saving Paxton. I feel
trying to redeem itself.
I feel like maybe the piece of debris would be like one of those old-fashioned signs for a growing development. Like think like Back to the Future, like that big development sign for the neighborhood that his family was going to live in, where it's it's people smiling, there's a sunshine, it's like happy acres. It'd be something like that, and the tagline on the board is live life to the fullest. and that's the last words, and it's that Paxton takes as the tornado dies. And that's where he learns he's gotta take charge and live life to the fullest.
Or I was also just thinking that it could be the piece of debris could be the storm door.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you see this Joe's family storm door.
Yes. Oh,
damn. And then just it clatters. So it's almost like it died, but it kind of finally let go of its guilt.
Yeah. Oh my god. So okay, how the hell does this bitch end? Because we're getting here to the end of our podcast, so we got to wrap it up. How does this all end? Now here's my question: does the team join him? Is it like How to Train Your Dragon, where each team member gets their own tornado?
I think that's actually how we had it. We wanted to bring them back in, but we wanted them to be able to do something. So I think he's got this army, but then there's that scene where he introduces these tornadoes to his team. But because I feel like there was a scene towards the end where they're still doing their tethered riding.
Yeah. Well, because that was one of the central things is Cary Elwes has learned how to incorporate himself into and sort of control the F6. So Paxton has to do the same thing. He has to become a part of the F5 or whatever his primary tornado is at the end of the last movie. So he has to directly confront Elwes, but they're both in their tornado forms, essentially.
Okay, sure.
Didn't we get like along that line, like you were saying, Elwes has control of the tornadoes, whereas Paxton and crew are working with them. Didn't we have something to where like they convince Elwes's tornado that he's being controlled? Like, you don't have to do this. You're being controlled. He's using you.
That's an interesting idea.
I think we had to have something to where like they don't make his tornado good, but they appeal to his sense of like freedom. Like, you can be free. You don't have to control him.
Just enough for Elwes to lose control,
or just lose power for a little bit, and that's how they like. You know, maybe they like wrap around one of those tethers and like pull him out of his tornado.
Yeah, like that could be a cool way to bring that back.
They have to separate. So there's so they're in the bus.
Yeah, okay.
And they've got him tethered, and they're driving him out of his tornado.
Oh, that's cool.
So he's tethered, like, no.
I love it. That's okay. That's cool. That's I'm almost thinking Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
when Peter Parker
is pulling him out. Like, he doesn't want to be.
All right, here's the real end fight though. Is they like pull him out, and the F6 is goes off wild, not controlled, but it just goes off to do its own thing. But then Elwes actually has some ability to just create his own tornado at that point. So he's not done. He's lost control of the F6.
Of that one.
But then they actually just have to fight him on his own with his own innate powers at that point.
I feel like it'd be much smaller. Like, there would just be wind circling his limbs.
Yeah, absolutely, because it'd just be, like, him and Paxton on the ground. He could just, like, fly around Paxton.
He's like, I may just be a human. What's Bill Paxton's name on this? For the love of
Joe and...
How do we not know his name in this movie?
No, we watched it not too long ago.
Either way, for the purposes of this, we're just going to say his name is Paxton.
Oh, no, it was Bill, wasn't it? It was Bill.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
He's like, Billy! That's right. Okay, so he's like, I may just be a human now, Paxton, but I still have the power of a twister. And then that's when he punches with his
tornado
his tornado fist. And that sends Paxton like skyrocketing across the plains. And one of his smaller, like more sprightly tornadoes, like has to chase after him
and
to catch him before he lands back on the ground. Can you imagine all the fun wire work we'd have to shoot over like
90% wire work
and green screen?
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about to take your how we start the fire twister. I wanted to one up you a little bit. We'd have to, because a pair of the twisters that help Paxton out, because we want to do a callback to the original, the sisters, the water sprouts. So he's like, sisters, help me! And like the sisters come back, and they fucking surround the fire
like
twister,
spinning
and
around
it's
him.
faster and faster and closer until it's just like it just turns into dust.
Oh.
And we'd have to have the cows somehow come back in a fun callback. People would think we're being like cheesy and relying too much on the original, but I'd still want to do it.
Say you'd have to.
They would say that, but they'd enjoy it.
They wouldn't feel that in their heart.
They'd still enjoy. It could almost be like almost akin to the horse, I guess, but like the tornadoes are like firing cows.
Yeah.
Because it's like if a tornado has too much debris, it weakens it.
I'm gonna say it slows it down. It's like drop some of their stuff.
Yeah, so like they keep shooting like cows and shit at these other tornadoes to slow them down. So that's how we bring the cows.
Fill them up with debris.
So at the end, it's Paxton via Elwes, and it's now just like tornado fists. Like, because then we have to strip it away. It's just these two men fighting it out, and I feel like somehow a cool way to kill Elwes is like the final Dorothy. Like, I don't know, maybe like there was always one that was still in the shop. Like they never finished, and it's like they've kept it though, obviously on their armored bus, and it could be like they're fighting, and then Paxton elbows him and kind of dazes him and like throws him into Dorothy and slams the lid shut. and like launches him out into a tornado. And like when Dorothy opens up, it's like a blood spot in his chest. It's
Like he's being sliced up by all the... Like,
it's like a spray of blood.
we're getting so much data.
Like the computers have all these numbers that are going up of Elwes' blood data.
His blood type.
I like, unless you have a better idea, I feel like they throw him
No,
into the
that-
last Dorothy,
that
and
makes-
Dorothy just
yeah.
like pulverizes
Or you know
him.
what? Like maybe not even Dorothy, but like whatever the hell he called his.
Oh,
The dot. Or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, Dot.
So they use his own dot thing to
for
kill him.
for whatever reason, he still has it.
Yeah.
Like he's never used it. You feel like
Or maybe they had it. They took it for some reason. You know.
Oh, look, I like where your head's at, but I still feel like dramatically,
Yeah. Dorothy.
Dorothy is
Yeah,
much.
Dorothy is much more satisfying.
Yeah,
That's
like
true,
the audience wants to see Dorothy one last time, and to have her kill the villain, all the sweeter.
Oh, I just sneezed.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts on that before we close this off?
No, my sneeze was the final thought.
Dan, any final ideas with this Twister? How we want to market this thing? Any title ideas?
Two thoughts.
Okay.
One, we do have the title for the second one that we managed to pull from the archives, and it was going to be Twister 2 Flood Warning, which kind of ties into my second thought, which is the best way to market this new series is really to tie it into the whole global climate change thing now. Like,
Oh yeah.
I feel like it'd be easy to sell this story to an audience now.
Like we've created our own monsters or something like that.
I mean, I can totally see the connection between like the ice caps being destroyed or whatever and controlling tornadoes. No, you are right. I can totally see that. Like we could totally sell it as the Earth is going to hell in a handbasket.
And here's some tornadoes.
And it's all Cary Elwes' fault.
Well, because he needs the news story, you know. And weathermen need a news story.
So he's forcing global warming.
Yes.
He's accelerating it.
There you
Yeah.
go. All right, that works.
At a dangerous, rapid rate. All right, fantastic. Well, this has been a great podcast.
Yeah.
Really hope this was enjoyable for other people.
I feel like just by our tone and our happiness, it'll translate. It'll bleed
infectious.
out. Exactly.
I would say this was probably closest. Like, if you don't know us or like you don't really hang out with us that often, but you're listening to this is basically like if you were to just sit in a room with us
Yeah.
and not say a word. This is basically how we talk. Like, this was basically just us hanging out.
So hopefully you enjoy that, especially if you hang out with us a lot.
Any final words, Sam?
If you don't enjoy that, you're probably not listening to episode 5.
That is a good point.
All right, well, fantastic, Dan. Thank you so much for guesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here. I would love to guest again.
This will not be the last time. This is the first, and there will be many more to come with Dan McCallum, and we'll actually have like real discussions. I feel at some
This
point.
is a real discussion.
It doesn't get more real than this.
Yeah.
All right, well, fantastic. Shane, any final words?
Cool. No. Thanks for listening. If you're still listening.
Yes,
God
thank
bless you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I talked over you.
What? No, that was it.
Okay, Gus, bless you. If you have any topics or you just want to maybe share what you thought of this podcast, please, send us our email. Is ryeguyshanetrain@gmail.com. And let us know what you thought about our Twister trilogy. It should be coming to theaters, I'd say summer 2016.
Yeah,
will be the first one.
Yeah,
And it'll
we're
be-
shooting them all back to back to back, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It's going to be IMAX and 3D. It's going to be fantastic. You'll love it. We'll see you at the movies.
All right, enjoy.